Cyberpunk Edgerunners and Cowboy Bebop are usually mentioned when considering shows that blend sci-fi and crime organizations. But there's a show that combines both genres even better than Cowboy Bebop. A show about friends just trying to make it in an unforgiving world. This show is Gungrave. The story follows our protagonist Brandon Heat and best friend Harry MacDowel as they rise to the top of the criminal organization Millennion. In this video, we'll discover why Gungrave is the masterpiece you never knew existed, and what makes this show so special. The duo of Harry MacDowel and Brandon Heat makes Gungrave stand out. Characters are usually what charm an audience when watching a show. Their role is to build a connection with the audience and move the story forward. To build a connection with the audience, we must understand the characters and how they think and act. Gungrave makes the audience believe, care, and invest in the characters, thus engaging us in the story. This idea comes from Matt Bird's book, The Secrets of Character. Bird explains when starting a story, your audience wants to believe in the hero's reality, care about the hero's circumstances, and invest their hopes that the hero can solve their problem. And that's what great stories tend to do. In Gungrave's case, we believe in Brandon Heat as a character since his traits, like being quiet, are repeated. In episode 2, we meet the gang of Kenny, Jolis, Nathan, and Harry. The show establishes the lives of these men as troublemakers by the fact that Kenny stole jewelry and is trying to sell it. Brandon sees the piece of stolen goods and puts his bid on it. The way he does it shows what kind of person he is. He points and gestures as if he was mute. This trait is later repeated after the gang is punished after trying to save Kenny. The gang is left bruised and battered. Harry asks if everyone is alive. Kenny and Nathan answer, but Brandon is silent. They wonder if Brandon is dead. But our hushed protagonist lets us know everything's alright with a thumbs up. There are many ways to get an audience to care about your hero. One way is to make your hero suffer. This allows your audience to feel sympathy for the hero. This is done when the gang returns home after their beatdown, only to see their friend Jolis dead. They're in shock and can't believe it, but Brandon's narration pushes the scene to another level by describing the event as normal and insignificant, adding a layer of irony. Now we care about Brandon Heat since we feel his pain, and we believe he's a living being. But do we think he can handle what this world throws at him? Well, we do. In episode 2, we see the gang fighting on a rooftop. We see Brandon can hold his own in the game of fisticuffs. Deed is forced to pull out his gun with the crew defeating all the grunts. He holds it at the crew, thinking he controls the situation. However, Brandon walks in defiance, as if he knows Deed would never shoot. Measuring Deed, he beats him down and disarms him. This is a crazy thing to do, but Brandon makes us think he's just that guy. The kind of guy who can feel the room and know who's the real deal. This makes the audience think, hey, this guy's a bit nuts, but he's cool. Now you got the audience invested and engaged. Don't think I forgot about Harry MacDowel and all this talk on characters. Harry is seemingly the leader of the group. He's charismatic, cunning, and strategic. His traits are a foil to Brandon's. To emphasize another character's qualities, foils are used. The term comes from an old practice where jewelers place their product behind foil to make it look more appealing. This allows the traits of both characters to shine more clearly. While Brandon is quiet, Harry's charismatic. While Harry can be selfish, Brandon is selfless. While Brandon is indecisive, Harry is ambitious. When making a character, knowing what they want is important. It gives the story direction and purpose. As for Harry, his goal is freedom. In his mind, freedom means getting to the top of Millennion with Brandon. What stops them is Brandon's betrayal. The idea of loyalty plays a major role in Gungrave's story. Millennion follows the Code of Iron. The code represents a set of values expected of members of the organization. One should never betray. If so, you are given death. This is also the code Harry and Brandon must follow once they join the family in episode 8. But Harry and Brandon have their own code that supersedes the codes of Iron. That code is that one day they will make it to the top. This is why Harry never betrayed Brandon. It was always Brandon's fault. Don't believe me? Well, let's take a look at the story to see why. In episode 4, Harry considers leaving the city and tells Brandon to stay since he loves Maria. Despite caring for Maria, Brandon chooses Harry over Maria. This is an important scene, as it tells the audience how selfless Brandon is, and foreshadows future events like Brandon letting Big Daddy have Maria. In episode 3, we see Harry beaten and broken. He tries to convince Brandon to stay hidden as they're on the run. Harry explains that he goofed around, and all of his efforts amounted to him being a small-time crook. He thought living like that was freedom. Later in this episode, Brandon and Harry watch as their friends are killed before them. They could do nothing about it. They were even too shocked to get revenge for their friends. They were weak. Weakness is not power. And you need power to be free. This event shapes Harry as a character. He never wants to be helpless again. He gets revenge and kills Deed using the same gun Bear left behind, showing he's ready to pull the trigger. Through their reactions, we can see how different both characters are. While Harry is willing to kill, Brandon is shocked. When they say their goodbyes to their fallen friends, they are attacked and get the opportunity of a lifetime. The chance to join the infamous organization, Millennion. When they decide to join, notice that Harry never forces Brandon to come along. He says his goodbyes, but Brandon follows along. This is supposed to be their mission together. That's why in episode 5, Harry introduces Brandon to his new crew, including Lee and Pound Max, the guy that gets bigger every time you see him. Harry says the goal is to rise through the ranks and get invited into Big Daddy's family, a tight-knit group with Millennion with direct connections to the leader, Big Daddy. Brandon passively agrees without fully taking in what he's agreeing to. Earlier in the same episode, Brandon's new boss takes him on a ride. After noticing Brandon's lack of speaking, he points out that his aunt told him that people who don't talk much tend to suppress their feelings and have strong emotions as a result. Later, his boss takes him on a mission. They must get some grunts that stole from Millennion. The grunts stole some jewelry, similar to how Kenny stole some in episode 2. They're happy and think about how rich they'll be. But there's a problem. Footsteps. The sound grows near. Tension builds. Brandon disarms one of the grunts. They're confused. The old man explains they are Millennion. The grunts know what this means, so they beg and plead for their lives. The old man explains that nothing was ever stolen. Since these men never existed in this world, and just like a zombie following orders, he shoots. This moment relates to Kenny's scene and how the other gang only beat up the crew for stealing. However, Millennion is a different beast. Once you're seen as a bug, you're squashed. Brandon's strong aversion to killing is showcased in this scene, and he now knows what it means to join a gang. Just like when Harry pulled the trigger, Brandon is just as jarred. We find out that Harry assigned this mission to Brandon's group. From Harry's perspective, there's no problem with what he did. If they want to move to the top and find true freedom, you gotta get your hands dirty. Harry asks Brandon if his actions caused any trouble, but Brandon lies and says no. Just like what the old man said, Brandon is hiding how he truly feels. Finally, in episode 7, Brandon goes over what he wishes he had told himself. He says, to protect means not to think about yourself for the sake of others. To protect means not to betray, ever. This quote points out the selfishness inherent in the act of protecting. When someone truly protects another, they prioritize the well-being, safety, and interests of the other person over their own. Brandon became lost. The more time he spent in Millennion, the closer he got to Big Daddy. He found a new family and wanted to protect it. All this leads to the masterpiece of episode 14. It's the day we have all been waiting for. Big Daddy is stepping down. You're here if you're important. Word is that Harry is the favorite to take the throne. All the executives of Millennion are lined up at the table. Harry is positioned facing Big Daddy. Big Daddy says he wants to pass the position to the younger generation. The audience at home and in the crowd think that can only mean one thing. Tension builds. We wait. Big Daddy picks someone else. The crowd is surprised. Clapping begins. The sound of just one person. It's Harry. No one would expect Harry to be happy in this situation. His clapping starts a round of applause for the new leader. The scene shows that Harry can put up a facade and will play his cards right. He's ready to pick his opportunity and knows what to do. Harry follows the scene overhearing Brandon talking to Big Daddy. He hears that Brandon is willing to follow the code of iron no matter who breaks it. This is the moment Brandon betrays Harry. But Harry gives Brandon another chance, just like he did Lee. The following scene only brings more tension to their relationship, as Harry forgets about his fallen friends. And now we're here, the elevator scene. The elevator scene is impressive for a few reasons. First, it serves as a major turning point in the story. The scene can be looked at from many perspectives. You can think that Harry is the traitor, he was the one in the wrong. Or you can interpret it as Harry giving Brandon a second chance, only for Brandon to pull out a gun on Harry. Whatever way you see it, it draws you in. Second, they're caught in a crucible. In Solstein's book titled Stein on Writing, he talks about putting your characters in a crucible. For those who don't know, a crucible is used to heat metals. Think about making a sword. Stein doesn't mean throwing your character in a bath of molten metals. He suggests you put your characters in an enclosed environment where they can't escape. Characters confront their feelings, desires, and beliefs within this container. The conflict is intensified through the crucible, and the drama is heightened, making it difficult for the characters to leave the central conflict. It must be confronted head-on, and in the elevator, that happens. Third, the elevator symbolizes Brandon and Harry's journey. They are both going up in the elevator, similar to their journey with Millennion. But they don't reach the top together. One of them loses their way and falls, reminiscent of a space cowboy. Since Brandon never learned how to express his true feelings, he betrayed Harry. But he gets a second chance, as he is reborn as beyond the grave. The second half of Gungrave is where many feel it falls off. They say it turns into a Monster of the Week special and forgets itself as a Mafia story. This claim is strange for a few reasons. First, the sci-fi elements of Gungrave are always present, even if you skip the first episode. For example, Deed's brother kidnaps a doctor early in episode 3. This sets up the Orgman we see in the Blood War arc, which starts in episode 9. The argument that Gungrave moves away from the Mafia plotline makes no sense, since they always had sci-fi elements present, similar to how Griffith and Guts fight a supernatural being in Zod before the Eclipse scene. Second, the battles are fought with characters we know, like Bungie. Bungie was trained by Brandon and taught the Code of Iron. When Brandon returns from the dead, it's Bungie's responsibility to kill Brandon due to the Code of Iron. Bungie also questions Brandon as to why he betrayed Harry. Unlike the guys who hired him when he first met Harry, Bungie knows that Brandon didn't betray Harry for his selfish reasons. He knows Brandon is a good guy, but has to stay true to the interpretation of the Code of Iron till the very end. All the battles have a point and push the story forward. We're closing the chapter on characters we've known from the start. Taking this video to the end of the story, we get our confrontation between Brandon and Harry. Harry has lost everything, from the organization to his beloved wife. It's been years, and we're back where this story started. Tragedies make a viewer feel sad, or even angry. It usually tells the story of a great or kind man who falls due to his own faults. This is the case in Gungrave. Brandon could not pick between Millennion and Harry. Although he betrayed Harry, he still believed in him. He still believed that he could protect, like what Big Daddy believed. He believed that they were family. One of the reasons we watch tragedies is for catharsis, the feeling of release. Tragedies make us express complex emotions, such as pity for a hero, regret over the ending, and frustration over the circumstances. Tragedies can help us deal with complex emotions. In the case of Brandon, he stored up all his emotions and finally finds his relief. As for Harry, he wanted freedom, but didn't know that he was most free when he was goofing around with his friends. He ran away from his childhood when he was attacked at the orphanage, and he held on to that, just like Bear's gun. This is also seen when he kills the store clerk after he sees the kid being pushed around. Now, at their end, they want to go back. They fully trust each other to the point that they swap guns. Before this video ends, we must talk about Mika, the daughter of Maria and Big Daddy. She can only think of revenge when she is first brought into the story after her mother is killed. As the story ends, she starts to understand what Millennion is. She stops thinking about revenge and wants to leave the chaos behind. The Code of Iron is a rule, but everyone has a different interpretation. We see this with Sid and him protecting his son. We see this with Bear and protecting his daughter. Millennion is about bringing people together, and the Code of Iron protects that. Mika understands everything once she sees Brandon at the end. Mika's purpose is to be protected. That was the point of Millennion from the start. Gungrave is a hidden gem in the anime world. It knows how to tell its story from start to finish, and closes out as a masterpiece. As we say farewell to our legendary duo, everyone that we've met reminds us of this journey.